The Discovery. The Deep Space Patrol Captain Sarah Chen stared out at the endless void from the bridge of the SS Dawnbringer, humanity's newest deep space exploration vessel. The ship hummed quietly through the darkness between stars, its advanced sensors constantly scanning for anything unusual in this uncharted region of space. "Captain, we're picking up something strange on long-range sensors," called out Lieutenant Marcus Webb from his station. His voice carried that particular mix of excitement and uncertainty that came with finding something truly unexpected in the vastness of space. Sarah moved over to the sensor station, her boots clicking softly against the metal deck plating. The Dawnbringer was one of Earth's most advanced ships, equipped with cutting-edge technology that allowed humanity to venture farther into space than ever before. But even with all their technology, the universe still held countless mysteries. "What kind of readings are you getting, Marcus?" she asked, studying the complex display of lights and numbers that meant little to most people, but told experienced spacers everything they needed to know about what lay ahead. "It's massive, Captain. Whatever it is, it's at least 50 kilometers long and showing some kind of energy signature. But here's the weird part. It's not moving at all, just sitting there in the middle of nowhere, like it's been waiting for something." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's chief scientist, looked up from her research station with obvious interest. She was one of Earth's leading experts in xenobiology, and had joined this mission specifically to study any alien life they might encounter. "Any signs of technology or artificial construction?" Marcus adjusted his instruments, trying to get clearer readings from the distant object. "The structure is definitely artificial. Geometric patterns, regular surfaces, and what looks like docking bays or entrance ports. But there's something else. I'm detecting what might be biological signatures, mixed in with the technological ones." The approach Captain Chen made her decision quickly. This was exactly the kind of discovery that humanity had been hoping for during their expansion into deep space. "Set course for the object. We'll maintain a safe distance until we know more about what we're dealing with." As the Dawnbringer approached the mysterious structure, its true scale became apparent through the viewports. The object was enormous, dwarfing their ship like a small boat next to a floating city. Its surface was a complex mixture of smooth metal and what appeared to be organic growths, as if technology and biology had somehow merged together over countless years. "My God," whispered Dr. Vasquez, pressing her face against the observation window. "Look at those patterns. They're not random. There's definitely intelligence behind this design. But I've never seen anything that combines artificial and natural elements so seamlessly." Commander Jake Morrison, the ship's tactical officer, studied his weapons and defense displays with professional concern. "Captain, I'm not detecting any obvious weapon systems, but something this size could be dangerous just by existing. We should be ready for anything." Sarah nodded, understanding his caution. Humanity had learned to be careful during their expansion into space. While they hoped to find friendly alien civilizations, they also knew that not every encounter would be peaceful. "Keep our shields ready and weapons on standby, but don't target anything unless I give the order. We're explorers first." The structure seemed to pulse with faint light as they drew closer, as if responding to their presence. Strange symbols and patterns covered its surface, some glowing softly while others remained dark. It was clearly ancient, but still somehow alive and functional. First contact protocol. "Dr. Vasquez, what's your analysis?" Captain Chen asked as they settled into a stable orbit around the massive object. "The biological components appear to be some kind of preservation system," Elena replied, her instruments working frantically to analyze what they were seeing. "I'm detecting genetic material, vast amounts of it. This thing might be some kind of cosmic seed bank or genetic repository." "A library of life," Marcus added quietly, his voice filled with wonder. "Imagine if someone built this to preserve the genetic heritage of entire civilizations." The implications were staggering. If this structure really contained the genetic information of alien species, it could represent the greatest scientific discovery in human history. The knowledge contained within could advance human understanding of biology, evolution, and life itself by thousands of years. "Captain," called out Communications Officer Lisa Park, I'm detecting some kind of signal from the structure. It's not directed at us specifically, but it's definitely artificial. The pattern is complex, almost like it's trying to communicate something. Sarah felt her heart rate increase. This was the moment every deep space explorer dreamed about. Genuine contact with alien intelligence. Can you decode any of it? Working on it now. The signal seems to be repeating, and there are mathematical patterns mixed in with what might be linguistic elements. It's like it's sending out a greeting or an invitation. The decision to board after several hours of observation and analysis, the crew had learned as much as they could from their external scans. The structure remained mysterious, but it didn't appear to be immediately dangerous. More importantly, it seemed to be trying to communicate with them. "Captain," Dr. Vasquez said during their strategy meeting, "I believe this structure is some kind of biological preserve created by an advanced alien civilization. The genetic diversity I'm detecting is incredible. It could represent life forms from hundreds or even thousands of different worlds. But why is it here?" asked Commander Morrison, ever the tactical thinker. "And why is it trying to communicate with us now, after apparently sitting dormant for who knows how long?" "Maybe it was waiting for someone like us," suggested Marcus. "A species advanced enough to find it and understand what it represents, but not so advanced that we wouldn't need what it has to offer." Captain Chen weighed their options carefully. The potential scientific value was enormous, but so were the risks. They were light years from the nearest human outpost, completely on their own if something went wrong. But this was exactly why humanity had ventured into deep space, to make discoveries that could change everything. "We're going aboard," she decided. "But we do this carefully. Full environmental suits, constant communication with the ship, and we retreat at the first sign of danger. Dr. Vasquez, I want you on the boarding team to analyze whatever we find. Commander Morrison, you're with us for security. Marcus, you stay here and monitor everything." Inside the ancient vault, the boarding party approached one of the structure's apparent docking bays, where their scans had detected what looked like an airlock system. As their shuttle drew near, the massive doors began to open automatically, as if the structure had been expecting them. "That's either very welcoming or very ominous," muttered Commander Morrison as they guided their shuttle through the opening. Inside, they found themselves in a vast chamber that seemed to stretch beyond the range of their lights. The walls were covered with what looked like enormous honeycomb structures, each cell glowing faintly with its own inner light. The air was breathable, according to their instruments, but they kept their environmental suits sealed as a precaution. "These are storage chambers," Dr. Vasquez announced excitedly, her instruments going wild with readings. "Each one contains genetic material, DNA, RNA, and molecular structures I don't even recognize. This is like the universe's greatest natural history museum." As they moved deeper into the structure, they began to understand its true purpose. This wasn't just a storage facility. It was a carefully designed repository of life from countless worlds. Each section seemed dedicated to different types of organisms, from microscopic bacteria to complex multicellular life forms. "Captain," Dr. Vasquez called out from near one of the display chambers, "you need to see this. I'm detecting genetic patterns that match Earth-based life forms, but they're much older than they should be. It's like someone collected samples from Earth millions of years ago." The implications were staggering. Had ancient aliens visited Earth in the distant past? Had they collected genetic samples from humanity's homeworld before moving on to other systems? The questions multiplied with every new discovery. The awakening, as they continued their exploration, the structure around them began to change. Lights that had been dim grew brighter. Systems that had been dormant started humming with activity, and something that felt almost like awareness seemed to permeate the ancient halls. "We're not alone in here," Commander Morrison said quietly, his hand moving instinctively toward his weapon. "Something's watching us." That's when they heard it, a sound that wasn't quite mechanical and wasn't quite organic, echoing through the vast chambers around them. It was followed by what could only be described as a voice, speaking in perfect English, with an accent that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Welcome, children of Earth. We have been waiting for you for a very long time. The boarding party froze, looking around for the source of the voice. Dr. Vasquez's instruments showed massive energy fluctuations throughout the structure, as if something enormous was coming online after eons of dormancy. "Who are you?" Captain Chen called out, her voice steady despite the extraordinary circumstances. "What is this place?" "We are what remains of the gardeners, the tenders of life across the galaxy. This vessel is the Eternal Archive, repository of genetic heritage from 10,000 worlds. And you, representatives of humanity, have arrived at precisely the moment we had hoped." The voice seemed to come from the structure itself, as if the entire massive construct had become aware and was speaking to them directly. Around them, the storage chambers began to pulse with increased activity, as if responding to the presence of the humans. "We don't understand," Dr. Vasquez said, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. "Why were you waiting for us specifically?" "Because humanity represents something we have not seen in millions of years. A species with the potential to become the next gardeners, the next protectors and preservers of life in the galaxy. But first, you must prove yourselves worthy of this responsibility." The Guardians' test, the challenge revealed. The massive chamber around them transformed as the ancient intelligence spoke. Walls that had seemed solid became transparent, revealing the true scope of the Eternal Archive. Millions of genetic storage units stretched away in all directions, each one containing the biological heritage of entire worlds. "Behold the legacy of civilizations that span millions of years," the Guardian's voice resonated through the structure. "Each sample represents not just a species, but an entire evolutionary history. Worlds that have fallen to cosmic disasters, civilizations that destroyed themselves, life forms that simply ran out of time. All preserved here in hope that someday, someone worthy would claim this inheritance." Captain Chen felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "What kind of test are you talking about? What do we need to prove?" "The same qualities that allowed your species to reach the stars despite your world's limitations. Ingenuity in the face of impossible odds, compassion for life forms different from yourselves, and the determination to protect and nurture rather than simply exploit and consume." Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her instruments still recording everything they encountered. "The genetic diversity here is incredible. You could repopulate entire ecosystems with this information, but why give it to us? Surely there are more advanced civilizations out there. Advanced in technology, perhaps. But technological advancement without wisdom leads to stagnation or destruction. We have observed your species for millennia. Through your greatest triumphs and your darkest moments, you possess something rare in the galaxy, the ability to grow beyond your limitations while retaining your essential humanity." The first trial. Ingenuity, the Guardians' test began immediately. The chamber around them shifted, walls rearranging themselves to create a complex maze of passages and chambers. At the center of each chamber waited what appeared to be a biological puzzle. Genetic codes that had been deliberately scrambled or damaged. "Your first trial is ingenuity," the Guardian explained. "These genetic sequences represent life forms on the brink of extinction. Using only the tools and knowledge you carry with you, you must find ways to repair and restore them. But be warned, each solution you choose will affect the others. Think carefully about the consequences of your actions." Dr. Vasquez immediately went to work, her portable genetic analysis equipment interfacing with the archive's systems. "These aren't just random puzzles," she announced after studying the first few sequences. "They're actual genetic codes from real species, but they've been damaged by radiation or time. If we can fix them, we might actually be saving entire evolutionary lines." The challenges were incredibly complex, requiring not just knowledge of genetics but creative problem-solving. Some sequences had gaps that could only be filled by combining elements from other species. Others required innovative approaches that human science had never attempted before. Commander Morrison found himself contributing in unexpected ways, his tactical training helping him see patterns and connections that the scientists missed. If We approach this like a strategic problem instead of just a scientific one. We can prioritize which repairs will have the greatest impact on the ecosystem as a whole. Captain Chen coordinated their efforts, making the critical decisions about which approaches to take when multiple solutions were possible. Her leadership skills proved as valuable as any technical expertise, keeping the team focused and working together despite the pressure they felt. The second trial, compassion, as they successfully completed the genetic puzzles, the chamber transformed. Again. This time, they found themselves facing what appeared to be a diplomatic scenario, holographic representations of different alien species, each with their own needs and concerns. Your second trial is compassion, the Guardian announced. These are representatives of species whose genetic material is stored in the archive. Each has a valid claim to priority. Their species was the most advanced, their culture was the most beautiful, their technology was the most beneficial. You must decide how to allocate limited resources to restore their worlds. The scenario was heartbreaking. One species had been wiped out by a plague just as they were developing interstellar travel. Another had been destroyed by cosmic disaster, while in the middle of a golden age of art and philosophy. A third had sacrificed themselves to save other worlds from an ancient threat. There's no way to save them all with the resources we have, Dr. Vasquez said quietly, studying the genetic requirements for each restoration project. We have to choose. But Captain Chen saw something the others missed. What if we don't have to choose between them? What if the real test is finding a way to help all of them, even if it means accepting a more difficult solution? Working together, the human team developed an innovative approach. Instead of fully restoring each species immediately, they proposed a gradual restoration program that would allow all the species to be revived over time, with each one contributing to the success of the others. Fascinating, the Guardian observed. Most species that have taken this trial chose to save the one or two they felt most deserved survival. You chose to find a way to save them all, even though it required more effort and risk. This is indeed the compassion we were hoping to find. The third trial. Determination, the final trial, was the most challenging of all. The chamber became a simulation of a dying world, a planet where ecosystem collapse was accelerating, where multiple species were going extinct every day, and where conventional solutions had already failed. Your final trial is determination, the Guardian explained. This world cannot be saved by simple genetic restoration. Its problems are too complex, its damage too severe. Most who attempt to help here eventually give up and focus their efforts elsewhere. Will you prove different? The situation was overwhelming. Every solution they tried seemed to create new problems. Restoring one species disrupted the food chain for others. Repairing damaged ecosystems used up resources needed elsewhere. Climate modification had unexpected consequences that made some regions uninhabitable. This is impossible, Commander Morrison said after their fourth major attempt ended in failure. We're making things worse instead of better. But the humans refused to give up. Dr. Vasquez worked around the clock, developing new approaches that had never been tried before. Captain Chen coordinated with the archive systems to access genetic templates from thousands of different worlds, looking for combinations that might work where single-species solutions had failed. What if the key isn't to restore what was here before? Dr. Vasquez suggested during one of their strategy sessions. What if we need to create something entirely new? Ecosystems that combine the best traits from multiple worlds to create something more resilient than what existed before. It was a radical approach, one that required them to essentially become ecosystem designers on a planetary scale. They spent days working through the implications, testing combinations, refining their approach through countless iterations. The victory finally, after what felt like weeks of effort, their hybrid ecosystem began to stabilize. The dying world in the simulation slowly came back to life, but it was different from what had existed before. More diverse, more resilient, more beautiful than the original. Remarkable, the Guardian said, and for the first time, its voice carried what sounded like genuine emotion. In all the millions of years we have maintained this archive, no species has attempted such an ambitious solution to the final trial. Most either give up or settle for partial success. You chose to reimagine what success could look like. The chamber around them transformed one final time, becoming a vast observatory that showed the galaxy itself. Billions of stars, countless worlds, an enormous canvas of possibilities. You have proven yourselves worthy of the inheritance we offer, the Guardian continued. The genetic heritage of 10,000 worlds is now yours to protect and nurture. But more than that, you have shown the wisdom to use this gift to create something greater than the sum of its parts. The new responsibility. Dr. Vasquez was practically vibrating with excitement as the full scope of their inheritance became clear. The scientific applications alone could advance human knowledge by millions of years. We could restore extinct species on Earth, develop new medicines, create ecosystems that could terraform entire worlds. But with great power comes great responsibility, Captain Chen said, unconsciously echoing the wisdom that had guided humanity's expansion into space. We'll need to be very careful about how we use this knowledge. Indeed, the Guardian agreed. The archive will accompany your ship, but it will only respond to requests that align with the principles you have demonstrated here: ingenuity in service of life, compassion for all species, and determination to protect rather than exploit. As the SS Dawnbringer prepared to leave with its incredible cargo, the crew understood that their lives, and humanity's future, had been forever changed. They carried with them not just genetic templates, but the responsibility to become gardeners of life on a galactic scale. The next phase of human evolution begins now, Captain Chen announced to her crew as they set course for Earth. We're no longer just explorers or colonists. We're the inheritors of the galaxy's biological heritage, and it's our job to make sure that legacy continues to grow and flourish. The SS Dawnbringer sailed into the void, carrying with it the genetic essence of countless worlds and the hopes of civilizations spanning millions of years. Behind them, the Guardian's final message echoed through space. The Garden of the Galaxy is now in your hands. Tend it well. Epilogue. The Return. Home months later, as Earth grew large in their viewports, the crew of the Dawnbringer knew they were returning as different people than when they had left. The archive had continued to reveal its secrets during their journey home, showing them wonders they had never imagined and possibilities they were only beginning to understand. Command is going to have a hard time believing this, Marcus said as they prepared their official report. Let them see the archive for themselves, Captain Chen replied. Some things have to be experienced to be believed. Dr. Vasquez had spent the entire journey cataloging their discoveries, but she knew it would take lifetimes to fully understand what they had inherited. We're going to need to establish new institutions, new fields of science, new ways of thinking about life itself, and new ways of thinking about humanity's place in the galaxy, added Commander Morrison. We're not just explorers anymore. We're custodians. As the SS Dawnbringer entered Earth's solar system, its cargo hold filled with the genetic heritage of countless worlds, humanity prepared to take its next great leap forward, not just as a species reaching for the stars, but as the guardians of life throughout the galaxy. The story of the SS Dawnbringer had become the story of humanity's transformation from planetary civilization to galactic gardeners, carrying within them the hopes and dreams of millions of years of evolution. And in the vast archive that now traveled with them, the voices of 10,000 worlds whispered their approval. The Garden of the Galaxy was in good hands,